So today we are going to be looking at the NASW Code of Ethics. I'm also going to be giving you a test prep question on the NASW Code of Ethics that may be something similar to something you see on the actual exam. Hello and welcome back to my channel, Mental Health with Melissa. I'm Melissa. If you're new here, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more content like this as I post new videos every single Sunday and Wednesday. I am a Lcsw psychotherapist, clinical supervisor, and PhD psychology research student. Subscribing to my channel really helps me get mental health information to our communities of color and tons of free Lcsw test prep for those that are studying to become a licensed clinical providers of mental health and the behavioral health sciences. So I really urge you to subscribe and leave a comment on this video or other videos letting me know what types of content you would like or other test prep material. So today we are going to be looking at the NASW Code of Ethics. The acronym NASW stands for the National Association of Social Workers. And so on the LCSW test, you will be likely seeing a question about the specific Code of Ethics. There are 6 guiding NASW Code of Ethics guiding principles, and we're going to look at those today. And I'm also going to be giving you a test prep question on the NASW Code of Ethics that may be something similar to something you see on the actual exam. So if that's something that you're interested in learning more about, please stay tuned. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So these that you see right here, these 6 different categories are the different code of ethics that we're going to look at today. So the reason why we need to know this is because if we are social workers, we have a very specific profession, right? We're not just therapists. We have a very specific subset of skills, and a lot of those skills are guided by these particular code of ethics that we're going to look more into. So, one of the primary reasons of social work, and I'm going to be referencing the actual code of ethics according to the NASW. So you're more than welcome to look it up and follow along online because they're all listed online to really the general public. So some of the things that I'm going to be talking about, you could probably easily find by doing a quick internet search. But yeah, so the primary mission of the social work profession is to enhance human well-being and help meet basic needs of all people with special attention to the needs and empowerment of people who are vulnerable, oppressed, and living in poverty. A historic and defining feature of social work is the profession's focus on individual well-being in a social context and the well-being of society. So having said all of that, I also encourage you to take a look at my video on 6 figures as a social work, because it sounds kind of contradictory, but it's not. We have the ethical responsibility to definitely look out for our population, and in that other video I go into some of the history of social work, and that's going to be important to kind of find out more information about. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first guiding principle or code of ethics, that is service. So service, according to the NASW, is the goal to help people in need and to address social problems. Social workers elevate service to others above self-interest. Social workers draw on their knowledge, values, and skills to help people in need and address social problems. Social workers are encouraged to volunteer some portion of their professional skills with no expectation of a significant financial return. For example, a pro bono service. So, an example of the value or guiding principle of service is when, say, a social worker works at a social service agency, and there is a client that comes in and is well known to the particular organization or agency. However, they mention that their cousin's friend, somebody that's, a couple degrees away, is having some major issues with housing, and this person doesn't have the same insurance that your client has, or the social worker's client has. And the client asks if the social worker can speak to their cousin's friend, of course with the permission of the cousin's friend. Now, if the cousin's friend is not a patient or client of the organization, does this mean that the social worker shouldn't help them? No, that's not the case at all. Even if they are not eligible for services, the social worker may still provide resources, and that's an example of service. So the next code of ethics value or principle is social justice. So social workers challenge social justice. They pursue social change, particularly with and on behalf of vulnerable and oppressed individuals and groups of people. Social workers' social change efforts are focused primarily on issues of poverty, unemployment, discrimination, and other forms of social justice. These activities seek to promote sensitivity to and knowledge about oppression and cultural and ethnic diversity. Social workers strive to ensure access to needed information, services, and resources, equality of opportunity, and meaningful participation and decision-making for all people. So an example of social justice is a person that is being released from being incarcerated from in the Department of Justice for many years, that has tried time and time again to get employment. However, because of their history, there's a negative label attached to this person, and several employers refuse to hire this person. So according to the social justice principle, a social worker that's meeting with a client with this sort of background would really make sure that they are able to connect this person to vocational rehab types of organizations or positions, and connect them to the appropriate resources by also providing advocacy on their behalf. So that would be an example of social justice. The next is dignity and worth of the person. So social workers respect the inherent dignity and worth of the person. Social workers treat each person in a caring and respectful fashion, mindful of individual differences and cultural and ethnic diversity. Social workers promote clients' socially responsible self-determination. Social workers seek to enhance clients' capacity and opportunity to change and to address their own needs. Social workers are cognizant of their dual responsibility to clients' interests and the broader society's interest in a socially responsible manner consistent with the values, ethical principles, and ethical standards of the profession. So an example of dignity and worth of the person would be a social worker working with a client that perhaps does not want treatment. So this is a person that has been diagnosed with a substance use disorder, and although they have gone through sobriety, they've relapsed, and their family wants them to get into treatment. However, the client just simply is not ready for treatment at this time. The social worker respects and honors that self-determination in the client and does not tell the client what to do. So that is an example of dignity and worth of the person. The next principle is importance of human relationships. So, social workers recognize the central importance of human relationships. Social workers understand that relationships between and among people are an important vehicle for change. Social workers engage people as partners in the helping process. Social workers seek to strengthen relationships among people in a purposeful effort to promote, restore, maintain, and enhance the well being of individuals, families, social groups, organizations, and communities. So, an example of this value importance of human relationships is, say, a social worker that works for a hospice organization with a patient and working with a patient and the patient's family, and the patient is at the end of their life, has been diagnosed with terminal cancer, and the prognosis is just a few weeks to live. And the hospice agency really wants the social worker to focus on getting the funeral arrangements prioritized. However, when the social worker meets with the family and the patient, they really just want to get to know who they're talking to and sharing their last moments with. And asking the social worker to possibly give them more information about who they are in the helping process. So in this circumstance, this is really about developing rapport and spending the last moments, having a patient where they're spending their last moments with somebody. And that's definitely an example of developing those human relationships. The next guiding principle, integrity. Social workers behave in a trustworthy manner. Social workers are continually aware of the profession's missions, values, and ethical principles and ethical standards. And social workers act honestly and responsibly and promote ethical practices on part of the organizations with which they are affiliated. So an example of integrity would be if a social worker works for a large organization and say one of the social workers' colleagues says that they want to take several of the clients from that organization and bring them with them to a new company or organization and steal those clients away from that company. A social worker wants to maintain that trustworthy and reliable and ethical sort of principle and would not agree to do that. So that's an example of integrity. Lastly is competence. So social workers practice within their areas of competence and develop and enhance their professional expertise. Social workers continually strive to increase their professional knowledge and skills and to apply them in practice. Social workers should aspire to contribute to the knowledge base of the profession. So an example of that is, even though a social worker has already attained their Lcsw and has been working in the field for many years, they still continue to take trainings, get those CEUs, and read more literature and information about the population that they work with so that they can be a better provider and have better knowledge in working with that particular population. So those are the guiding principles of the NASW Code of Ethics. I hope that the examples were helpful. Now we're going to take a look at a test prep example. A single mother of two presents to a social service agency endorsing recent eviction and now facing homelessness. She states that her landlord is threatening to kick her out, to kick her and her two children out of the unit next week due to her inability to pay rent last month after losing her job. The social worker provides resources on legal aid and helps the mother contact the housing authority. The NASW Code of Ethics principle the social worker is using is, all right, so we see here that there's a social service agency social worker and the client is now facing eviction and homelessness. She's been unable to pay rent after losing her job. And so the social worker is providing resources and helping the mother contact specific resources. So let's go ahead and go through all of these options. Option A, integrity. So if we think back to the guiding principles, integrity is when a social worker is behaving in a trustworthy manner and really making sure that the values and ethics of social work is being adhered to. So does that sound like what's going on up here? Not necessarily. So let's go ahead and cross that out. Competence. So competence, like we heard above, is really having that knowledge and the skills to provide practice so that a social worker can be of better service to their population that they're working with. So it sounds like the social worker does know about some of the resources. So let's read the other options before we make a decision so we can do the process of elimination. Dignity and worth of the person. So again, according to the guiding principles, the dignity and worth of a person under the NASW Code of Ethics is about really respecting and treating people in a way that's mindful of cultural and ethnic diversity. And so does that sound like what's going on up here? Nothing in particular to that. So let's read the last one, option D, social justice. So in social justice, social workers challenge social injustice. And social workers want to really focus on issues of forms of social injustice and poverty, possibly homelessness, and want to connect their clients to resources. So based on what's going on up here, that sounds like that's the correct answer, and that's going to be social justice. So these other two are going to be crossed out, and again, your option is going to be social, or your answer is going to be social justice. Thank you so much for watching. Please, again, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button for more content like this. And again, if you have any recommendations on other test prep information, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Until next time, managing mental health matters.